right, welcome back to week 2 of GTD, our second ever episode. We just got done watching the granddaddy of all NASCAR races, the Great American Race, the annual Daytona 500. It was a fun race up until the most important part of the race. I mean, all that anticipation and tension and everything that was being built in those closing laps with the big one coming with like 11 to go and just all the pushing, the three wide racing, the pack racing that we come to love, and then a wreck right when they cross the finish line kills all the momentum, all the everything, and we have a winner.
Listen, it reminded me of this year's Rolex 24 where they accidentally ended the race early. It's just like, and they're going for the final lap. Who's going to, oh, it's over.
Right.
And all of a sudden, William Byron was headed to victory lane, and you're just like, really? After all the build-up, after all the good racing we got in the last 40 laps of that race, that's what the finish is going to be? It just really took the air out of the sails of the event.
Yeah, and I mean the rain kind of took the
Well,
took
yeah,
the
that
air out
too.
of the sales. That was a big part. So, but not a bad Monday night to be able to watch NASCAR Daytona 500. The Rock was there. Um, but yeah, just super anticlimactic at the end. You had William Byron and Alex Bowman kind of driving around the track, looking at each other like, "Did you win? Did I win?
Yeah,
Which one of us won?" William Byron was the winner. Congratulations, William Byron. We are excited for
yes,
him. I mean, I think we're about to see his career just skyrocket,
for
really
sure,
take
yeah.
off. And I mean, he is the new closer. He took Kevin Harvick's position. Kevin Harvick is now in the booth with Fox. Enjoyed listening to him today. But there is a new closer in town. His name's William Byron with number 24. So
For
great to
sure.
see him get the job done.
Now, I have to say, both of our picks to win this race were looking pretty good coming towards the end there with Blaney and Keselowski both in position until they both got taken out in the same wreck.
Yeah, same wreck. The big one at the end, and the two guys who won are the two guys who started the
Yeah,
big one. I mean, Bowman
push
kind
from
of
Bowman sent
yeah.
Byron right into Keselowski, which kicked off the entire thing, which ended up taking out 18 different drivers.
Yeah, and the announcers didn't really touch on this, but Chase Elliott getting out of
He
that
should
wreck
not have made it through that. It was
got
ridiculous.
out of it clean, had Todd Gillen come right across his nose, and I mean, he just checked up a little bit and just kept going. I mean, and he had a chance there at the end. You know, like Bush was coming up, he went up for Bush, and they had a run. They had the
And
momentum,
then
and
Alex
then
Bowman.
Alex Bowman didn't know what he didn't. He couldn't decide what he wanted to do. Oh, do I want to stay out? Do I want to stay in? I'm gonna just sit in the middle and kill my teammates' momentum.
And he made contact too. He didn't just kill them
Yeah,
momentum. He almost wrecked all of them. It was
he
almost a
couldn't.
carbon copy of the Nemechek and Kozlowski incident from lap 5.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he was thinking. I'm sure there'll be some talks in the Hendrick meeting. I mean, as much talk as you can have. They did win the Daytona 500,
Yeah.
40th anniversary of Hendrick starting Hendrick Motorsports to the day, which is nuts. Or the Super Bowl people will be like, it's scripted, but whatever. Hendrick's always been a powerhouse, and I
For
mean,
sure.
they proved why tonight. So
They prove why they never need to sit on pole at Daytona ever again. The last
yep.
two times they haven't been on pole, they've won the race with Jimmy Johnson before and then Byron this year. So maybe Hendrick, quit setting your cars up for qualifying and set them up
Yeah.
for the race because it appears to be working.
Well, we didn't really hear a lot of talk about Chevy through the week. I mean, you had Ford after qualifying. Everyone's like, "Oh, Ford's gonna win. Ford's the fastest. Ford's this." And then you have the duels, and the whole thing switched to Toyota. Oh, Toyotas are built for the pack. Toyotas are built to race together. Toyota has strength in numbers this year with the most Toyotas they've ever had in a pack race. And then Chevy just kind of said, "Oh, we're here too. And we just won the race, by the way."
Well, I've seen all the Fords and Toyotas take each other out in a giant wreck, but
That is true. But I mean, they were. I mean, Kyle Busch probably had the fastest.
as far as straight line speed, Kyle Busch, I think, did have the fastest car. And then another thing for Chevy in this race was their pit strategy.
Oh yeah.
They consistently came off pit road, and you're like, oh, they're going to be swamped. The entire pack's going to get them, and yet they would stay out front every time. And you just were like, how is Chevy? How do they keep getting away with this? How do they keep ending up at the front of the pack after these green flag pit stops every time?
Yeah, pit strategy was part of the reason they were there at the end to make the moves that they made, and they won the race. So let's play a little bit of overreaction. So we just had the first race of the season, but right before the race started, we sat down and we wrote out all of our playoff picks, and so we have graphs to show y'all of mine and Micah's playoff picks. So later in the year, we can look back and see how horribly wrong we were, or hopefully 80% would be a good thing to shoot for. Maybe
Yeah.
70% a C. C's get degrees. So let's take a look at. Let's do you first. Let's
All
talk about
right.
your playoff picks.
Well, I'm feeling good to start the year as my predicted champion is William Byron. Then I think one thing is going to stand out initially on my playoff graphic, and that's the fact that I have Eric Jones making the playoffs, which a lot of people will probably not agree with. I think Eric Jones finds a way at Darlington and gets into the playoffs that way through a win. Then another thing that I think will stand out is no Stewart Haas cars. I talked about this last week. I just do not believe in their program right now that much. I know Josh Berry had his moments tonight. Noah Gragson had some time running up in the top five, but for the more intermediate tracks, short tracks, typical tracks, it's really a believe it when I see it for them. And then my final four, I have William Byron, Kyle Larson, Martin Truex Jr., and Tyler Reddick. Martin Truex Jr. I think is the interesting one here, especially when we get into yours in a minute. But I think he had some good momentum last year, good regular season, not really good playoffs. I think he switches that this year to where maybe he's not the strongest in the regular season, but he turns it on come playoff time. And then I think Tyler Reddick, I might have a little bit of bias here being a Tyler Reddick fan, but I just think that he has some of the best raw speed in NASCAR. Not necessarily the most consistent driver, but you put him alone by himself, say go run one lap in equal machinery, and I think he ends up toward the front of the pack. So I like him moving on because of that. Then really for RFK this year, I think they get both drivers into the playoffs. Keselowski and Buescher, I both think are going to have pretty good seasons this year. I don't have Keselowski making it out of the first round just because of how competitive it is this year, but I think both RFK teams get in. And then from there, it's more of just your usual suspects, your JGR cars, your Kyle Busch, your Hendrick Motorsports drivers. So I think it'll be pretty straightforward from there.
So it's not Hamlin's year, according to
No,
your
it's not
playoff picks.
Hamlin's year.
He doesn't even get into the round of eights.
No, he doesn't.
Let's see, but one of his cars does, and Tyler Reddick.
Yes.
So I mean that's always fun. Mine looks a little different. We have a lot of similarities, but a lot different. Um, I don't have Martin Truex Jr. in the playoffs at all.
I know, which is crazy considering I have him in my final four.
Yeah.
So one of us is either going to be very wrong or we're going to split the middle.
Yeah. But I mean, I think we saw what happened. He was great last year. I mean, unstoppable. And he gets in the playoffs and kind of disappears. And he is getting older. And I think that he's just those younger guys in those Joe Gibbs cars are kind of gonna take his place a little bit this year. And just the young talent in general and the competitiveness that we do have right now in NASCAR, I don't see him. I see him being one of the first two out, but I don't see him in the round of 16. Um, I have Gibbs. I mentioned taking Martin Truex's place. I do have Gibbs in the playoffs, so that's kind of the other Joe Gibbs car that I got going.
I think one more year for Ty Gibbs. I don't think he gets it done this year. I think this is going to be kind of more of a calibration year like we saw from William Byron when he first entered the sport, where maybe his first couple years he wasn't on par with his teammates, but then started to turn it on. I think this is that second adjustment year for Gibbs. I don't think he's quite there yet.
Right. We both have both RFK cars in. I mean, their third car, David Reagan tonight, ran and
He looked good, yeah.
And he wasn't even full time. So I mean, RFK's got some good stuff. I do have a Stuart Haas car in. I have Noah Gragson, and let me explain. Noah Gragson reminds me a lot of Tony Stewart. Just the off the field like personalities and tempers, and I think Tony Stewart knows this and realizes this, and kind of is saying, "Hey, this is gonna be our guy." I mean, he's a lot like I was. We need to give him all the stuff we can, and I'm gonna take him under my wing and teach him everything I know. Noah Gragson is the next me, and I think he proves that this year. I think he points his way into the playoffs. Anything can happen once you're in, but I do think he points his way into the playoffs. We'll see if he gets a win after that. But I have him all the way into the round of 12. So, I mean, I think Stuart Haas is going to have some speed and some tracks this year. Other than that, right, pretty typical. I have Hamlin bounce in the round of 12 as well.
Yes.
It's kind of, whatever. Not his year. It won't be.
One thing I do want to say about your bracket that I do like, and something I almost did myself, is Kyle Busch into the championship four. He was probably my first one out of the championship four, and I definitely see a world where he makes it and could even contend for a championship this year. I think he's going to build off what he did at RCR a lot this year, and so I'm excited to see what that A team has in store.
Right. And if you've noticed, I have Elliott winning the whole thing. So I do think Elliott's going to have a little bit of a bounce back season. I mean, like we mentioned earlier, he had a good shot there at the end to win the 500, and the Chevys are always fast, whatever. So he's going to have a bounce back year. Deciding a winner between this Final Four was really tough for me with the young talent of Byron, Elliott, and Reddick. But then you have Bush. So it was really kind of a toss up for me, and I kind of just landed on Elliott. But I can see both any Hendrick car out of Elliott or Byron winning the championship. Or I mean, once Bush is there, he'll do anything it takes to win. So he's kind of a monkey wrench in there. And then Tyler Reddick, we'll see. I mean,
Yeah,
proven.
I definitely think if Elliott manages to make the final four out of your four you have here, Phoenix probably fits his driving style the best out of those four drivers. I just personally don't think he makes it there.
Right, but only time will tell.
For sure. Yes.
This is the part where we're gonna get ripped, or people are gonna love us or
Yeah.
hate us. So, um, let's talk about rookie of the year. We'll have some more predictions for later in the year as rookie of the year. There's only four this year. You have Josh Berry, Zane Smith, Carson Hocevar, and Kaz Gralla. I think the most exciting as far as fans that are really excited to watch is just the raw talent in Carson Hocevar, the number 77 this year with Spire, and he was running decently in the Daytona 500.
He was. Had a great duel as well.
Right, but had a wreck that wasn't his fault. It took him out, just the wrong place at the wrong time. Brad Keselowski made a Brad Keselowski block, and the rest is
Well,
history.
I think it
Right
was
to
more
question.
John Hunter Nemechek being a moron.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
can't block two lanes at once and expect something not to happen.
well, I mean that's very similar to what happened at the end. It just didn't turn into
It
a wreck
is,
without
yeah.
Spellman. But yeah, once you get caught up in two lanes and you can't be undecisive at a super speedway. You have to have the ability to make a decision and stick with it. Whether it's the right decision or the wrong decision, and you know that immediately, but you have to stick with your decision. You can't get caught up and say, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen, and it never works out. And we saw that twice tonight. But rookie of the year, I think this is the safe pick, but I'm going Josh Berry. I mean, you're replacing Kevin Harvick in the number four with Stuart Haas, and I mean, he filled in for Chase Elliott last year. I mean, didn't look great, didn't look terrible, but I think he's a safe pick. He's probably got the best equipment, maybe depending on what Spire has to offer this year. And we saw, Corey LaJoie and Hocevar have great cars in 500, but I think I just got to go with Josh Berry. I mean, he's 33 years old, so he's got the most experience out of all the rookies. He's got Kevin Harvick's crew chief, who's won in 2014, won the NASCAR Cup Series. So I mean, Rodney Childers is a great crew chief, so that'll help him out a boatload compared to these younger guys who may have younger crew chief or younger spotters or whatever in crew chief. So I think just with his experience and his crew help, I think I'm going Josh Berry.
I've gone for a bit more of the exciting route. I have gone with Carson Hocevar to win Rookie of the Year this season. I think Spire is not too far off of Stuart Haas at all, and I think Carson Hocevar has more raw speed on tap than Josh Berry does. So I think because of that, Carson Hocevar has a higher ceiling, and I think he might even be contending or even better than Corey LaJoie by the end of this season. So because of that, I think Hocevar has a better points finish by the end of the season than Berry and takes home that Rookie of the Year.
I like his tenacity.
Yes.
I mean, he knows he's young, but he also knows that he worked his way to the Cup Series. He knows he belongs here. He's not going to let the older guys push him around. I mean, he said that in interviews all week in Speed Week. He's like, I'm here to prove to everyone else that I'm supposed to be here. I don't care if I'm an Aspire car or a Hendrick car. Like I'm going to be there, and you're going to have to work with me or hate me. And he
Exactly.
will put somebody in the wall. He's kind of like a Ross Chastain, and that's
I think that's a
exciting.
perfect driver comparison as well. He's going to be a kind of. I don't see him as a younger Ross Chastain. I think with Chastain, it took him so long to get to the Cup Series that some Cup fans might not know the younger Ross Chastain from the Xfinity Series, the kind of just wild child that he was. I wouldn't say Hocevar is that out there, but definitely that same style of if I'm faster than you, I'm going to prove it even if I have to ram you into a wall to do so.
Right. And drivers we didn't pick were Zane Smith, the number 71 for Spire. Won the Truck Series Championship in 2022. Didn't make the championship for last year, but won a handful of races. He's got Trackhouse support this year.
I
So
think he's definitely got good talent, just in equal equipment with Carson Hocevar. I don't think he has the same level of
right,
speed to be able to compete with Hocevar.
I agree. And then Kaz Grall on the number 15 with Rick Ware in front row, kind of teaming up for that car. Um, really, the only time we've seen him in Cup Series was the 2020 Daytona Road Course. Ran top 10. Um, that's the best he's ever done in the Cup Series, but I just
He's been a decent Xfinity driver for a
yeah,
couple
I
years.
don't I
So.
don't see him kind of breaking the mold and being
Yeah.
this great Cup Series driver this year. Maybe down the line, but not this year. Not his rookie season. Um, Before we move on to previewing Atlanta, let's talk about some of these teams like Spire and Front Row and Rick Ware and just how they performed in the 500. I mean, we saw some guys that we didn't expect to see up at the front. I mean, Michael McDowell had some electrical issues that ruined his day, but I mean, you had some guys up there that you're like,
Both front row
oh
cars led the race at one point today with
yeah,
Michael McDowell and then Todd Gilliland leading for a while. Then you said with Spire, Corey LaJoie led some laps.
mm-hmm.
Even Justin Haley for Rick Ware ran second for a long period of time behind Joey Logano.
Yeah,
And I think that's part of this leveling of the playing field that NASCAR wanted to do with this next gen car. a few years into it, you're finally really starting to see that come to fruition, where these smaller teams are closing and closing and closing the gap to we're getting closer to a more level playing field across the board. And I think that's good for the sport.
Right, that was NASCAR's vision when they came up with this next gen car was how can we make this car to where your Spire guys and your Rick Ware Racing guys can compete with your Hendrick guys, and we're seeing that more so at the super speedways than any other track. But we are seeing that. I mean, Ricky Stenhouse ran up top in the Daytona 500 again. I mean, we're used to seeing that at this point. But yeah, just cool to see all these guys kind of be like, who is that? Who does he run for? So, I mean, that was exciting. But
Yes.
what's not exciting is the 84 on your hat.
I don't want to talk about it. It's
So Jimmy Johnson racing for Toyota now, which got took some time to get used to. Uh, Wrecked in the first
five
stage.
laps.
Yeah, it was not pretty.
Five laps.
Had some damage to his car.
I'm used to him being taken out on super speedways at this point. I don't think he has the same level of skill at getting through these big crashes a lot of other drivers, but the on-board shot they showed of Hocevar just coming back at the track and just checking up right into him, it makes you cringe watching it. My favorite full-time driver now, for those who might not know, is Tyler Reddick. So on a week-to-week basis, that's who I'll be pulling for. But the younger me who grew up being a giant Jimmy Johnson fan, and I'm still excited.
Is that what these 48s mean?
Yeah,
Is that who that is?
still super excited to watch him anytime he gets on a racetrack, and to see it end like that after 5 laps is just depressing.
I mean, it's hard to watch Jimmy Johnson come back and struggle because we watched him be great for so long, but I mean it just happens when Dale Earnhardt Jr. comes back, runs Xfinity, he doesn't win every race.
Yeah.
He drives and whatever. So yeah, there's nothing you can do about it. But
Nope.
he's a owner of a team, which I think to him right now is more important.
Yes.
The guys like Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek, kind of
John Hunter
they have great seasons more so than him.
I think Eric Jones is the guy you're going to get that from, if anyone. I have no faith at all in John Hunter Nemechek.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I think Eric Jones is kind of their rock and their guy, and I think you're going to see that. But Johnson does have a few more races. He's slated to race in this season, so we'll see. I don't have high hopes, but
I'd be curious to watch him on the road courses, see if any of that IndyCar road racing experience might have held on as not great as he was at that, see if any of that translates versus some more normal Cup drivers.
right. And he almost didn't make the 500. He had to race.
Yeah, he needed JJ Gaillard to just get out of the way, whatever.
Yeah, but JJ Yeley put up a fight, and someone. The story is people checked up. He had to check up. He had to go outside. But if you're watching it as a fan and you don't listen to
It looks like he just got out of the way.
It looks like he just said, "Well, I think NASCAR may be very angry with me if I don't let Johnson in the 500. So I'm just gonna let you go through Johnson." But the next race on the schedule is Atlanta. We will be there. We have tickets. We will be there. We're going with some buddies. I'm super excited. The only race I've ever been to in person is Talladega. Atlanta is now kind of a more super speedway type track with the reconfiguration and more repaving. I'm really excited. I get to go to another race other than Talladega. We're going to the second race of the season. We get to be at a NASCAR race. I'm super stoked.
Yes, I am as well. I, like you, have never been to Atlanta before. I've been to Charlotte a few times, then Martinsville, Daytona, and Bristol once each, but Atlanta has always been a track I wanted to go to when it was a more typical mile and a half. It used to be one of my favorite tracks to watch each year. And while this new super speedway version isn't necessarily my favorite, I don't think it's an improvement of Atlanta. I'm still excited to go and witness it in person. It's always great to be at the track. So, like you said, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we'll try to get some footage and have some coverage for you to watch next week. Your pick.
Give me Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch. You saw the way.
Yes.
You like the way he drove.
I liked how fast that car was at Daytona.
Car was
I think they bring that same kind of speed to Atlanta, and I think Kyle Busch has gotten more and more crafty over the years, more and more patient, not always driving flat out into the bumper of the guy in front of him, knowing when to pick his moves. And I think that next week you're going to see him take full advantage of that and take the win.
I like that pick. He did race a hell of a race today, and just the way he made moves and blocks, was more mature version of what we saw from Kyle Busch years ago, and I like that pick. However, I'm going with the hometown racer, Chase Elliott. He hasn't won it at Atlanta, so I think he's going to at some point in his career. It's not a matter of.
Are they going to make it a road course? Is that how he's going to do it?
Oh, wow, okay. Hey, he's won Talladega. I
I
mean,
know.
he's got some Super Speedway races under his belt, but he's gonna win at Atlanta at some point. It's not a matter of if, but when. And I think it's gonna be the last NASCAR race I went to was Talladega. Chase Elliott won, so maybe
Maybe you're good luck.
exactly. So yeah, I'm rooting for Chase Elliott, but I wouldn't be mad if a Kyle Busch wins or even RFK car. And we saw how dominant they were, or not dominant, but how strong Brad Keselowski was there towards the end. So it's not as a wild card super speedway as Daytona or Talladega, but it
It's kind of
is
a hybrid between your more
right.
mile half and your super speedway.
It's enough to crank it up a little bit and kind of get you going. Ooh, this is gonna be exciting. But it's also
Yes.
like your dudes will be there and show up. And I like Elliott and Bush to kind of run the front of that race for the majority of it. But right, we'll be there. We'll let you know who wins. Obviously, have some coverage. It'll be fun. Yeah, you got anything else as far as NASCAR?
I think that's it for NASCAR this week, but
Yeah.
I am super excited the season is back underway. Always great to see cars back on the track.
Oh yeah, I was so excited for this Daytona 500. It sucks it got rained out because I know all the fans that were casual fans that were coming from the Netflix show or whatever were really excited for the Sunday race, and now they're it was at 4 o'clock Eastern time today, so
Yeah, Mother
people are
Nature
working
taking the first win of the year. At this rate, our playoff bracket's going to be 15 air titans and some rain.
and
So,
Mother Nature. Yeah, she's undefeated. The Clash was moved,
yes.
not a day later, but a day ahead to beat the weather, and Daytona 500 was delayed a day. The Rock still showed up. I was surprised by that.
Yes.
But he said, "Hey, I came all the way from Hawaii. I'm not going back till I give this command."
Hmm.
So respect for the Rock staying, giving the command. That was excellent. The stands are pretty packed for a Monday race. It's the 500 obviously, so a lot of guys tried their hardest to stay. But just a bummer that it wasn't on Sunday and all this build up that it had kind of flattened out. But still a good race and still a good turnout. So happy for NASCAR they can get it done. But yeah, we have some more exciting MLB news today with the season getting closer every single day. Let's talk about Scott Boras agents. There's four big ones on the market that have yet to sign. Spring pitchers and catchers have reported. A lot of your players are at the camp taking ground balls, working out, doing whatever they do. Um, I mean, spring training starts this week and the season starts a month and a few weeks from now. So the four guys we're talking about are Blake Snell, Cody Bellinger, Matt Chapman, and Jordan Montgomery. All Scott Boras agents without a team.
Yeah.
So what you got?
Well, I think obviously the biggest one of these is Blake Snell. Coming off a Cy Young, that quality of player. The Yankees threw a massive deal at him and he turned it down. So I think he's going to have to take a discount from that Yankees deal. I don't think he's going to see something like that again. But if you had to pick, where do you think he ends up?
Uh, I think he goes to the Blue Jays. I mean, he was 14-9 last year with a 2.25 ERA. I mean, that's pretty good. We've seen big pitching signings from guys who've never thrown a pitch in the majors, and you still have Blake Snell sitting here. I mean, I don't think he's going to get tons of money. So I agree. After the Yankees got Marcus Stroman, obviously they're not still going to go get Blake Snell, but I see him going to the Blue Jays. They were in on Otani. We knew that. They didn't get Otani, so they obviously want to spend some money. So I think I see him going to the Blue Jays.
I agree with you. I think he presents himself as a great fit to that team, and the Blue Jays have been making a push for him. It seems like they're in on Blake Snell at this point, and after the Giants and the Yankees have pulled out of that sweepstakes, I think the Blue Jays might find themselves as in a really good spot, almost as a lone contender for Snell services.
Yeah, I mean there are a few pitchers and a few arms away from, I mean, having a legit shot in the East. I mean, the Yankees are going to be down. The East is going to be tough this year, like it was last year. But I mean, they're just a few pieces here and there, and if they can stay healthy, I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you saw teams like the Diamondbacks and Rangers kind of come out of nowhere. Maybe the Blue Jays have that kind of season this year if they go get a dude that they can rely on in the rotation and be their number one guy. So, and Blake Snell can be that, and I see that fitting. Um, Next up is Cody Bellinger. You said Snell was the biggest and had the biggest season last year, but I mean Cody Bellinger. I mean he's got a Rookie of the Year. He's an MVP, Gold Glove winner, 2023 Comeback Player of the Year, and he won the Silver Slugger. In 2023, he slashed with a 307 average, an 881 OPS, and with 26 home runs. And that's pretty legit stuff. I mean, everyone was kind of down on him and said, like the Cubs took a gamble.
Yeah, pretty good
And
deal.
right, and it could have fallen foul in their place, but it didn't. I mean, it worked out for them, and Obviously, he had an option, but he was going to decline that. But I mean, he put up some legit stuff last year, and the big harp on Bellinger was he couldn't hit lefties. Well, he hit the lefties hard last year.
Yeah, he
He proved
did.
that he could. So I mean, where do you see him kind of shaping up, and at what price?
Bellinger is really interesting because I don't think he's the same player he was when he won that MVP. His raw power is not quite there, but I think he's a more elite on base threat now than he's ever been in his career, even if he's not necessarily hitting 40 home runs a year. I really like his fit to the Padres. I think the Trent Grisham experiment out there has not gone well. He's really regressed, and you really need something in center field. And who better to come in there and add more pop to your lineup after losing Juan Soto? Not that Cody Bellinger is going to be a Juan Soto, but I think he is a very good replacement and probably out of what's left, definitely the best you can get.
Yeah, I mean, but we even saw him last year kind of take a step back from the outfield. He got injured, came back, played first base,
Yeah,
and I mean, he's just an athlete. You can kind of put him wherever you want. Obviously, he's not going to play middle infield or third base, but I mean, you put him at first base or anywhere in the outfield. I mean, he's already a plus plus defender there. So I mean, you're gaining a lot defensively just from his athleticism, but then his hitting, and now that he can hit lefties and he's proven that, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, and he's definitely the best out of him and Chapman. I think he's a little bit better than Chapman is right now, so he's definitely the top hitter left on the free agency market. I see him reuniting with the Cubs. Some news came out today that official negotiations really haven't happened with him and the Cubs like everyone had thought. Tom Ricketts, the owner for the Cubs, came out today and was like, "Yeah, we're just kind of letting it come to us, and we're gonna see what happens." But nothing really official has gone down. So I think Boras wants too much money from him. I kind of see him signing around the $200 million price range, more so than 250. So I think they're gonna have to take a few 20 million or so off their price and kind of just be like, look, if you want to play with the team before the season starts, because I mean, there's a good chance one of these guys doesn't have a team when the season comes, kind of like we saw with Dallas Keuchel and Craig Kimbrell a few years back. And I do think he reunites with the Cubs this year, though. We talked about Matt Chapman. He's the other
yes.
kind of hitter that Boris has, a four-time Gold Glove winner. He slashed 240 yesterday or last year with 755 OPS and 17 home runs. Leaving the Blue Jays, probably don't think he's gonna re-sign with them. So where do you see Matt Chapman shaping up?
One thing that you mentioned with Chapman that I love about watching him is his elite defense he offers at third base, and then he has great power too. He's not going to hit 300. He's not going to be that type of guy for you, but he offers great pop in the lineup and then is an elite defender at that corner. And the Giants right now are rocking JD Davis over at third. And I think if you can go out and snag Matt Chapman over JD Davis, why would you not do that? The Giants have really been trying to invest money the last couple off seasons hasn't really gone their way. They haven't been able to necessarily get the guys they want from Aaron Judge to Carlos Correa. So I think this is an
Arson
opportunity.
Judge.
Yes, the legendary Arson Judge
Yeah.
tweet. I think Matt Chapman's a great opportunity for them to get a guy they can really rely on in their offense and at third base.
Well, last time they took a step towards a third baseman of this caliber was Chris Bryant. We saw they trade for Chris Bryant, and that kind of didn't work out. But then again, Chris Bryant was really playing the outfield by the time they had gotten him,
Yeah.
so he wasn't really the third baseman he was, and he had some injuries, and now he's not with them at all. But I see him going to the Mariners. I mean, the Mariners need a third baseman.
It's a good fit as well. I won't deny it.
They got rid of Jared Kelenic, so they need a bat, So I mean, Matt Chapman could fit right in there, and I think he will. And the Mariners get him. I mean, they could easily make a push in their division to the playoffs, and who knows what after that? Because they got a good young team behind them. If they get in Matt Chapman, I mean, they're going to be pretty legit.
Yeah, especially if you want to move Eugenio Suarez into more of that DH role, just get his pure power out of that spot, or even coming off the bench, then you have a much more reliable defender out there in Matt Chapman. So I could definitely see that fit as well.
Right. And lastly, you have another picture of Jordan Montgomery, who no one really talked about at the beginning of the year last year. Was playing with the Cardinals, who had a very down year, especially for pitching. I mean, their pitching was not stellar at all last year. Then he kind of becomes almost a hero for the Rangers in the playoffs. I mean, turned around his whole season after getting traded twice and ending up with the Rangers. Um, but I don't think he's going back to the Rangers, and I do think he reunites with the next team, and that is the Cardinals.
I completely agree with that. I think his first stint with the Cardinals, he was good there, then gets shipped off to the Yankees, major confidence issues, back to the Cardinals, still those same issues remain, then really turned it on with the Rangers. I think he really likes playing in St. Louis, and I think that now that he's got that feel and that confidence back after pitching with the Rangers so well, I think you definitely see him try to go back to St. Louis and reestablish himself there.
Yeah, I mean, he even said when he got traded to the Rangers last year, people were talking about, oh, you're a free agent after this year. Are you like, what is your plan? He was always like, well, I mean, if the Cardinals call, I'm open. I've loved the organization. They've loved me. I mean, I'm always willing to go back to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals kind of share the same opinion. So, kind of shocked we haven't seen him come back to the Cardinals. But then again, the Cardinals don't want to pay the Boras premium. I
Yeah,
mean, I think if they could have gotten him without having to deal with Boras, he'd already be locked up with the
for sure,
Cardinals.
for sure.
But these teams don't want to pay the Boras premium, and I mean, he's just gonna have to at this point be like, all right, whatever, just
Yeah,
go sign for what you can get. Um, we talked about Rob Manfred kind of wanted to put in a free agency window, kind of like the transfer portal. Um, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's something that the NFL does really well. That free agent window, every season, free agency is open from here to here, and you have to sign within this time, or else you can't sign again until the season is already underway. And so, if you want to be with the team before the start of the season, you have this date bracket, or else you're closed. And I think that's something that the MLB really needs. I think without Boris, it wouldn't necessarily be as much of a problem because you've seen him especially drive up the price for these players. But
Mm-hmm.
I do think it would benefit baseball. A lot of baseball's rules in general regarding the signing of players, how money is used, the lack of a salary cap in baseball are very unique to the sport. But I think this one is one that does not benefit it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if a free agency market will kind of help players in any way. It seems like to me like teams will rush to sign players and maybe they'll pay too much for a player just because they want to get him because they know in 2 days some team's gonna have him but we really want him so they may pay a couple $1 million more than they wanted to or the opposite a player may decline and be like look I'm not signing for that and then if he misses the window he's just not with the team for the year or he just has to sign this really low deal where really he's worth more. So,
The thing
um,
about a free agency window is I think for it to work at its optimum, you have to combine it with a salary cap.
right.
Because if you don't have that salary cap, like you say, big teams can just first day offer this massive contract to players and be like, oh, I'm not going to get anything better than that, accept it instantly. Whereas if you have that salary cap, you have money constraints, and then it's more of a level playing field where any team can go out into this period, and I think that increases competition for players. But I think you either have to bring both of those concepts into baseball at the same time, or neither of them. And with how hesitant teams are to the idea of a salary cap, I doubt we see it because of that.
I think if anything in this fashion happens, it'll be down the line, probably after Manfred steps down. But I think a more presenting issue in MLB right now, as far as money goes, is being able to defer $700 million,
Yeah, it's
and then 2 weeks later deferring a guy you signed for a 1 year deal. I think that's a bigger issue that needs to be worked on. Is these teams shouldn't be able to defer all this money and pay guys, but like when we're 50, we're gonna be celebrating Shohei Otani Day on March whatever because they're just him a check for $35 million. I mean, that's the bigger issue to me, and that needs probably something this next offseason or definitely in 2 years that needs to be kind of capped and
for sure.
buttoned up because that's the more pressing issue in my opinion. I mean, you can't have all these guys signed for these big contracts, but then the team don't have the money to pay them, so they have to defer. I mean, I get they're getting players, but it's just I don't think it's good for the sport.
No.
So yeah, but Rob Manfred, he is stepping down in 2029. He kind of gave a little checklist of things that he wants to accomplish or wants things to happen before he steps down. So let's go through that and kind of just break it down for the people out there. This the first thing he kind of talked about because this was a big issue when he announced he's stepping down. Is Nike and Fanatics New
They're
Jerseys?
horrific.
They're pretty bad. Rob Manfred swears up and down we'll get used to them, we'll love them, and that the players will get used to them and love them because
I
they
disagree.
feel better and they're more like a Nike. They're not like a typical traditional baseball jersey with the patches and everything. They're
If
more
you
like a
put the
dry fit.
I don't care how light it is. it shouldn't look like a DH Gate Chinese knockoff jersey. If you put that and the jersey from last year next to each other, it looks like this is your authentic jersey and you've ordered this for $40 off Wish.com.
Yeah.
And yet the price point has increased,
Yeah.
which does not make sense. A jersey that looks that bad and is that cheaply made should not cost me $170 to buy as a fan. It's completely inexcusable. It's disastrous for the sport, in my opinion, because you're pricing out these kids who are going to grow up and they want to buy jerseys of their favorite players. Not every family can drop $180 on a jersey for their kids. So I don't see how this is going to benefit anybody. I don't care what Manfred says. I'm not going to get used to and love these jerseys because Fanatics' monopoly on sports memorabilia in
They did it with
general.
NHL.
They ruined NHL jerseys as well. The Adidas NHL jerseys weren't perfect, but they were a heck of a lot better than the Fanatics pieces of trash that are out there on the ice weekly right now. So I don't want to see that same thing happen to the MLB, and I think Fanatics as a whole is just bad for any sport they get into.
And if you haven't seen them, we'll put something on the screen so you can see it. The numbers, not the numbers, the names have kind of been arched more. So if
As a Reds fan, what is Christian Encarnacion Strand's name? It's going to be a circle.
Yeah, I mean,
This,
well, if you have a longer name, it just looks bad anyways. But even some of the short names look bad, and the MLB logo, for no reason at all,
it's below the neckline
was
now.
moved from
And-
just the collar right here to below the
For no
neckline.
reason. What's the benefit of
Yeah.
doing that? It looks so bad.
I don't know.
And the numbers are smaller.
But
the
these,
sleeve
these
tags-
jerseys are tested. Nike tested these jerseys to be the most enhanced performance jersey of all ever. Whatever.
Just because it's tested doesn't mean it's good. I can test the PT Cruiser was tested multiple times. It doesn't make it a good car.
Hey man, there's people who drive PT Cruisers today. I see them all the time.
And they're terrible. I apologize if you drive a PT. Actually, I apologize that you're stuck driving a PT Cruiser if you have one of them.
There's people who love PT Cruisers, I'm sure. Man,
And they're wrong.
I mean, I don't love PT Cruisers, but I'm sure there's people out there who are very proud of their PT Cruiser. I'm gonna sign you up for a Facebook group called PT Cruisers and Proud. You know, so just so you
Break
can
the
feel,
thing down from within.
so you can feel. I'm gonna make you drive a PT Cruiser one day. That's happening. And then the athletics to Vegas has kind of stalled out a little bit. The mayor in Las Vegas said that the plans that the athletics submitted to them kind of don't really work out. They can't really see those plans happening for the stadium. That doesn't mean they're not moving to Vegas. It just means they need to reconfigure where they're going to move or what kind of stadium they're going to have.
Yeah, I've heard they've thrown out a different location that's not as centralized on the strip now, more kind of off of the main Vegas strip, out of the way a little bit more. But like you said, I don't think Manfred expected these slowdowns of this process, and he's been pushing for the A's to get out of Oakland for forever now. So I think he's definitely going to see that through.
I think Oakland ends up in Vegas, just a matter of time. But they need to find a place to play because they have still not found a place to play starting the 2025 season, and that's kind of a bigger issue than where you're going to be playing 2028 or whenever a stadium gets done. But I mean, you really need to figure out where you're playing in 2025, or figure out how to win some baseball games. That's the biggest issue here.
Listen, with that owner, they're not winning any baseball games anytime soon. It's sad, but it's the truth. I just don't think he has a desire to win.
If you're an Oakland fan and you want to go to a game at the Coliseum, I mean, this is your only year pretty much. So make sure you get out there and support while they're still in Oakland, and then after that you can find a new team or just move with them to Las Vegas or whatever. But yeah, make sure you get out to the Coliseum if you want to just sit in the ballpark and watch your team lose one last time. The fabricating injuries was a big thing that we saw kind of come out of the blue a little bit. I think this is going to be kind of like what we saw after the Astros won the World Series, with the whole cheating scandal and how it kind of strayed from the Red Sox to the Astros, and how it came out a few months later. I think this is the next big kind of cheating thing in baseball. Yeah. I mean, teams fabricating these injuries to get guys they want on the roster and off the roster, and kind of be able to move guys without having to send someone down officially.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see when they decide to start enforcing this, what route they're going to go doing it. If it's going to be a third-party medical verification, or if they're going to have employees from the league within the teams whose only job it is to check out these injuries, or how they're going to go about doing that. But I definitely agree that this needs to be done, because you can't let teams get away with just saying, oh no, my right fielder's ankle hurts, so we're going to bring up this other guy we wanted to. So for once, I think Manfred is actually doing a good job with this.
Yeah, I mean, he's already suspended the general manager, Billy Epler. So, and I mean, he even said that he's gotten contact from players that are saying, "Hey, this is a bigger deal than what y'all think it is. Like this is happening all the time and everywhere now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, this needs to be rung in, and I think he's going to do that, and that'll probably be cleared up probably before the season ends, and we'll see some repercussions maybe. Probably nothing more than some suspensions or maybe firings or whatever, forcing guys to step down as they do.
Yeah.
But I do think that in the few weeks coming up to the season, we'll see a lot more kind of traction with this and more highlights and just what's really going to go down. But yeah, like we mentioned, spring training starts this week. We
Yes.
have official spring training games.
Listen, the spring training hats look good too. I think my personal favorite is, I don't know if you've seen the bright orange Orioles one. That thing looks good, man.
Yeah, they did a few throwback logos for some teams, and
Yeah.
they did some some powder blue, some like powder cubby blue, whatever. Some teams are really bad. Did you see the Minnesota Twins? The flags. I saw that. I had to look at it and go because I couldn't really see the letters in the flags. I didn't know it was Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Uh-huh.
And I looked at it. I was like, "What team is that?" And
Yeah.
once I found out it was St. Louis. And
That's never something you want to say when you look at a hat. What team is that?
yeah, I was like, "That's they could have come up with something a little better than that." I think, but yeah, just for super. I mean, have you seen what Freddie Freeman said about Yamamoto? And did you see the clips?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh, he looks good.
Listen, I don't know if you saw the video from the catcher's point of view of his fastball and slider coming in. I I don't know how you ever get a hit as a professional baseball player after watching that.
Oh,
His stuff looks nasty.
yeah, he's not gonna like blow it by you maybe, but his stuff's got some hooks,
Yes.
hooks and riddles in here and there. Speaking of baseball, I got to cover some Auburn baseball this weekend
Yes.
because college baseball started up last weekend. Auburn looks pretty good.
We do. I will say, we need to get Ike Irish using a wood batter. He's gonna kill somebody.
Dude, he hit a ball. I don't know if you saw this, and if I can find a video clip of it, I'll show you. But he hit a ball over the batter's eye in center field
Yeah.
and cleared it probably by 80 feet.
If he line shots into a shortstop, that's a hospital.
Yeah, I asked him after the game, and he said that was the furthest ball he's ever hit. So, I mean, it was insane. But I was more impressed by Auburn's pitching because that was kind of where they needed to step up, and they did. I mean, we had a really young guy pitch Sunday, freshman, and he was really. I mean, when he got the third starting spot, everybody was kind of like, I don't know about that.
Look good though.
Hey, dude, he shut everybody up.
Yeah.
He came out there and shoved, and
I'm so excited for this season
Oh,
after
me
that
too.
series.
I'm
I know it's
excited.
Eastern Kentucky, but
I'm excited for college baseball in general this year,
Yeah.
especially living in the SEC. I mean, Arkansas, Florida, LSU.
Although Florida dropping an early game to, is it Utah?
No.
No.
But I mean, early jitters. I mean,
St. John's?
yeah,
It's a red.
They know.
St. John's. It's a red team.
yeah. But I mean, that's just early game jitters, whatever. I don't think Florida's gonna look at that in 3 months and be like, oh, we lost this. But
Surprise to start the year though.
it is. It was shocking. But I mean, I feel like I could just name Alabama. I can name every team in the SEC, and they're right there
Vandy.
for the College World Series and for Omaha. But yeah, super excited.
Yes.
Duke looks stout.
Yeah.
Clemson looks stout.
Uh-huh. Listen,
Interest may be insane this year. I mean,
one of my friends works at Clemson and is a student there, and he was working baseball this weekend. And he and I had so many conversations this weekend about Auburn versus Clemson baseball. We're super excited for the season as fans of both of those teams. So I, like you said, super psyched for college baseball this year.
if you're not into college baseball and if you're looking for an excuse, 2024 is that excuse.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fun year, and I am so excited just to get into it. And we get to watch a lot of SEC teams play here in our backyard. Yeah, super stoked. Well, I guess we can keep talking about Auburn sports for a little bit. Basketball. We were at the South Carolina game. Put up 100. That was insane. Great environment. The loudest I've ever heard that stadium was when we won free gooey fries at Baumhauer's because they missed back-to-back free throws with less than 8 minutes left.
I think what that proves is South Carolina is not a top 11 team in the country, and then they went out and lost to LSU on Saturday as well.
Yeah.
But you come off that game and thinking, man, is anyone going to beat Auburn and Neville? And then you fast forward to Saturday.
Well, my thought process was, man, we scored 101 points. That means we only have like 40 left for this week. So what are we going to do against Kentucky? Right. I was like, we've hit our quota for the week. I was kind of worried. And then I'm watching the game. I'm like, here we are.
3-point shooting once again completely disappeared. The Jalen Williams injury is big for Auburn. They said he's going to be back before the end of the year, but missing a couple weeks, which on a team that on some nights struggles to score anyway, struggles for shooting, I don't think that's something we can really afford.
He's huge. He's huge to the success of this Auburn team, home and away. Um, I, but I think Alabama's going to win the SEC again. I think they're going to be a
Listen,
champion
don't
again.
sleep on Tennessee,
Oh
man.
yeah, yeah, Tennessee.
Dalton Connect
Yeah,
is absolutely rolling right now. Especially with Jalen Williams out, if Auburn can't get it together as far as road games, I think Tennessee is going to end up winning the SEC.
I think so. That'll be a fun conference tournament, and then get into March Madness. We'll have some terrible coverage for y'all as far as what not to pick in March Madness. But we'll tell you anyways.
Vermont to the Final Four, baby.
Yeah. Okay. But UConn looks
UConn's a
on.
wagon.
I mean, if you're taking bets now, I'm putting money down on Utah or UConn to win it all.
Utah.
Yeah, not Utah. UConn to win it all.
That's both of us with a Utah slip up on this now. We're going strong with the Utes today.
Yeah. Other big college sporting news: EA college football had a had a half trailer. I don't. It wasn't a trailer. I don't know what.
It was a teaser.
Whatever you
Teaser.
it. Teaser. It was a teaser not for the game, but for an announcement for the game, which was interesting.
But it's coming. That's what matters.
Glad we got something
Yes.
just to like shut us up, right? Yeah. So a reveal, announcement or reveal coming in May. I think they said into May. Who do you have for like your cover athlete? That's a big topic right now.
So I think if you're going to take a guy from the previous season, I would go with Jaden Daniels. He is your Heisman winner. He's one of the most electric players in college football last year. If you're going to go with a guy that is going to be playing this season still, personally for me it would be Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers. I think
Okay.
he is really going to emerge as one of the stars of the sport this season, maybe even win the Heisman. So that's who I would go for the covers. But what about you?
I think whether they take someone from last year or this year, it's going to be Shadur Sanders. Hopefully he's not flexing his wrist in the cover, but I do think Shadur Sanders. I mean, he's got the name, he's got the fame, just all the stuff that all the stuff that came around Colorado last year and brought all that attention to Colorado. I mean, they're going to want to bring that attention to their game, and the game's going to have attention anyways. But I mean, Shadur Sanders is probably with the cover athlete. If not, they may do the whole Sanders family. I mean, have Dion on there and Shador and Dion Jr. I mean,
Shiloh.
it may just be the whole family. But like we've seen with Madden, they have kind of your normal cover athlete, and then you have like an Ultimate Edition. We've seen that with MLB The Show, and like the Madden edition of Madden. And I think you kind of after this year have to put Saban on something.
I would love to see him on a cover, seeing as NCAA head coach has gone by the wayside as a game completely, and then obviously with him being retired now, you're never going to see him in that position again. So I would love to see that as a tribute to just simply the best college coach of all time. I think he definitely deserves that.
And I mean, I can't wait to be playing and log back in and see that my star quarterback has transferred to Oral Roberts for a Ferrari and just kind of get upset going.
Now that
I'm
is the
supposed to do
question.
that.
If you're starting a NCAA dynasty, who is your go-to rebuild team?
Oh, rebuilds. Okay, so this is a lot different than if you're choosing 2014
Yeah.
because the whole landscape is very different. Can't rebuild Colorado because I'm not Deion Sanders.
Really?
Rebuild team. Can I rebuild the Pac too? Can I make them the Pac 12? Can I rebuild a conference?
Just rebuild the conference from the ground
A
up.
team. Let's see. Well, what's your team?
For me, it's got to be the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii. Make them an absolute powerhouse in the landscape of college football. Because no one wants to fly out to Hawaii for a 1 versus 2 matchup, but I'm going to make them do it, gosh darn it. I'm going to build a dynasty on the islands.
I think I have to go Boise.
Boise's fun. Got that blue
The
turf?
Smurf turf?
Yes.
Yeah, I play on the Smurf turf. No one likes to play there. I don't even like playing there because it hurts my eyes.
The
But
famous Idaho Potato Bowl will become a semifinal game by the time you're done.
yeah, I'm bringing the Boise State boys back to glory. But yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Um, let's jump over to F1.
Yeah, so testing starts this week.
Formula E. Yes, we had testing. Other than that, just some more paint schemes to go over.
The Red Bull released it's the same paint scheme, but a big change to the car with vertical side pod inlets now. Something that Mercedes tried over the last couple years, couldn't get to work, abandoned the concept, and now it looks like Adrian Newey has solved them. This car has big shoulders over the engine bay, kind of next to it back there. Then it just looks mean, man. It looks like a rocket ship. I don't know if you saw the video of it at Silverstone. It sounds like a rocket ship, so if I were any other team, I would be significantly worried.
Yeah, I mean they've proven year after year that they can make these little adjustments here and there just to kind of stay at the elite level they've been at. And I think they're going to stay at their elite level, and we're going to watch Max Verstappen win another 17 races or whatever. But yeah, and then Mercedes came out with their paint scheme, really clean, really dark, and not a whole lot going on, but it fits.
Like
It's
it
their brand.
The thing with Carbon, a lot of fans are upset at Carbon because it's not a team's normal color palette. Like Alpine is not a black colored team.
Right.
But Mercedes does have that silver and black brand identity, and from the front that car looks absolutely stunning with the teal waves over the front of the car, then the silver on the nose cone, then the black down the sides. I think it all comes together really well. So for me, it's my second favorite car of this season, but my favorite, I know I am a Ferrari fan, but man, that Ferrari red looks so good.
The Lightning McQueen Ferrari.
Yes, I love the Lightning McQueen Ferrari. It looks so good.
The white and yellow stripes. They really amped the white this year with
Yes.
the accents and everything, and it looks good. The Ferrari does. I mean, it looks clean, and it's. I think it's probably got, as far as percentage on the car goes, more color than any other car. Maybe
Yeah.
V car was pretty bright.
It's between those two for sure.
But yeah, I mean, the Ferrari red's always a good one.
Then finally, Aston Martin. Yeah.
That's my second. Aston Martin's my second favorite car.
That
I
green.
love that green, and they had the little yellow stripe going down it. And the
Building that brand identity
Yeah.
with that British racing green, I think they're doing a really good job of it. I think that and Fernando Alonso have really helped this team form its own identity, moving away from their old Force India Racing Point days. And I don't know how good they'll be because their development path last year, the more they tried to make their own upgrades and vary from their kind of copy of the Red Bull car, the more they went backward. So I don't know how much I rely on them to do development by themselves, but at least the car will look good.
Well, a lot of racing back in the day was to sell the cars that they make in the production line. And you mentioned kind of going to the British Racing Green and their brand. I mean, it is their green. When you see an Aston Martin, you see that logo. I mean, you think like a darker green kind of car.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what they have going, and it looks really clean. So
I am
Aston
excited.
Martin's one of my favorites. Ferrari's top.
I'm excited for testing this week. The return of Flovis paint, aero rakes, all around Bahrain for 3 days. We won't get a true gauge of the pecking order, obviously, because there's sandbagging going on. There's glory runs where
We already know the pecking order.
not all of it. You never know.
We know the one that matters.
Alpine could have a monster and they could finish third in the constructors. You never know. But
yeah, but sometimes you do know. Sometimes you just have these feelings and you watch them pan out and go,
yeah, I am excited to see what V carb looks like though. See, they're rumored to be taking more influence from the main Red Bull team this season, so I think that's the big question going into testing is can V carb jump up the order because of more interdependence with Red Bull?
Right. Something we didn't talk about with NASCAR is there's kind of been some chatter of Honda either leaving IndyCar or kind of doing IndyCar and NASCAR. But now Honda coming to NASCAR.
Dodge is right there.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna bring in, I know Steve Phelps has been trying to bring in a fourth manufacturer, and he even name dropped Dodge a few years back. And Dodge seemed like it was going to be the next kind of manufacturer. It didn't happen. But if you're going to add a fourth one, I feel like you have to add Dodge just because, I mean, they've been in NASCAR before. They still make these muscle cars that you can drive on the street. They had the car to model it after.
Listen, I don't know if you remember the Xfinity Dodge Challengers.
Oh, yeah.
Listen,
Yeah,
if that car body was brought into the Cup Series, I think that would be instantly the best looking car body. If they bring that Challenger in, I would love to see that. As much as I respect Honda as a brand and their success in Formula One and IndyCar, I do think the identity of NASCAR is more with these American brands. I know Toyota's entered more recently, but these American muscle brands in stock car racing, I think, are what NASCAR fans truly want to see. So I would love to see Dodge back in before Honda.
I think it's going to be hard for Honda to find fans if they venture into NASCAR because there's a lot of NASCAR fans who just won't root for them because they are Honda and they're not one of these kind of grandfathered in Ford or Chevy. And Toyota's kind of been in the mix for a while now, and people have gotten used to them. And I mean, Toyota makes trucks. They have the Tacoma and the Tundra. I mean, Honda's got a truck, but it's not a truck that like think of.
It's a Honda Mino.
Yeah,
it's like an El Mino but bad.
Right. So I mean, I hope they can strike a deal with IndyCar to kind of stay in IndyCar and not have to worry about coming to NASCAR. If they do need a fourth manufacturer, NASCAR's like this is the only way. One, I think it'll come with the new engine package. I don't think it'll be with the next year, the year after that, I think 2027, 2028 minimum
Yeah.
for a new manufacturer coming in.
I would love it if that engine package had 1,000 horsepower, but probably not gonna happen.
At least 850 something, more than what we have now.
The difference between how the cars sound now and how they used to sound, I was watching a video of Juan Pablo Montoya's Watkins Glen pole lap a couple days ago, and the sound that car made is just something you don't get anymore from these reduced horsepower engines, and it just takes some of the soul out of these cars.
Yeah. Well, we kind of got sidetracked.
Yeah, just a bit.
That's really all we have for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the NASCAR season. It's finally underway, so we finally get to just watch racing every Sunday, or actually every Monday, with
Yes.
the way the rain plays out during NASCAR season.
If there's any rain in the country, it will find the NASCAR location.
Oh yes. But yeah, that's underway. We're super excited for baseball to get back underway, and F1 to get back underway even sooner than baseball with Bahrain coming up. Thank you for watching, and that's it. It's over.
Yep.